Hey everybody. Thought I'd do a little prologue here. This has probably been the worst filming experience, this last film section here, of the whole deal so far. She didn't make it anymore. She didn't take one, she didn't take two, but she took three tripod failures and down she went. And as a result of that, it would cut off and I couldn't tell because of the sunlight when I was working and things like that. So there's not as much film on certain things that I'd like for there to be, but I'm hoping the one that's sitting up there right now will work out. This is kind of like one of the first times using it, and hopefully she'll work out. But this has been a good camera, but not anymore. Alright, so camera replaced. Hopefully we won't have that problem anymore of it cutting off on me and losing things. That's done. Now, one thing that kind of interests me is when I go back on YouTube and I look at the statistics of how many people are watching and things like that, you would think, I don't know, I would, that you'd start at the beginning. Even if you found one in the middle, you'd go back to the beginning and, you know, see what had progressed up until then and how it was done. No, that ain't happening. The ones in the middle have got the most views. And if that's the way you want to watch it, you don't want to watch the front ones, that's up to you. You know, if I can help one person build this pizza oven or wood-fired oven, whatever you want to call it, then cool, I'm happy with it. But there's one thing that I said in video 1, when we were going through the list of stuff that I thought you might need to get. One of the things I said was, make sure when you get something, especially if it's something important that you might need more of, that the individual is going to have it and you don't have to go hunting for it all over again. Or if they just have it for a limited time, hey, it's better to have leftover than not have enough. That happened to me. Remember I was telling you I was using perlite, and I found an old guy who had this hardware nursery store has been out on Rim Road for, good Lord, centuries. And I ran out of perlite. I went through 6 20-pound bags of perlite and needed some more. Whew! So I tried calling, nothing. And I got in the truck, went on down there, and it was a sign on the door that said closed. It was the middle of the weekday, supposed to be open, and I looked in the window and it was cleaned out. Zip, nothing. I was afraid the old guy had died. He was a real nice old guy, Vietnam vet, and I was afraid that you know, he just finally went for the final dirt nap, and but no, he just decided, well, we've done this long enough. And he closed his business down, and I don't want to say he left me hanging, because I'm sure that wasn't his intention, but I was hanging. No perlite, zippity doo-dah. I made close to 60 telephone calls within a range of probably 120 miles looking for perlite, or even vermiculite. I would switch with vermiculite, but nothing. And then one guy I called, he said, hey, you need to call this one guy right downtown, only about 25 miles away. He said, normally he keeps some there, and he might have some left over at the end of the season. So I hadn't called him yet. I was just going down the numbers as I Google them. I called, and the guy said, well, actually we do. We've got vermiculite. We've got it in the large bags, but it's super fine. And I'm thinking, hey, that's great. And he said, no, it's super fine. That's the grade of it. Because it comes in super fine, fine, medium, coarse, rock. Okay? So this is super fine. And where my perlite had the consistency of Rice Krispies, you know, the old Snap, Crackle, Pop cereal, my perlite had that consistency, that construction. This vermiculite had the consistency of sand. It looked just like sand. So But it was it. That was it. How far had I gotten? Well, I'd gotten the dome done. I had gotten the rock wool on it. I'd gotten the wire on it, and my camera died. You don't see it. It looks like it's loose, but I went back and tightened it up. Okay, and I got about, I want to say, anywhere from 3/8 to a half, best case, 3/4 of an inch of perlite rendering. And that was it. Ran out of perlite. So then I went back and obviously got the vermiculite, bought 3 bags of it, huge bags, okay. These were a little bit more expensive, where I paid $20 before for a big bag of perlite from the old guy who had the hardware store. These cost $28 a bag, all right, and you ain't gonna worry about it at this point. You had to have it. And one of the advantages to it, and what I did was I did a 4 to 1.5 to 1. That was 4 parts vermiculite superfine, 1.5 parts of Portland cement, and 3/4 to 1 part sand. Okay, and I mixed that all up together, and I will say one thing, that spread like wonderful. That was fantastic. Yeah, I mean it spread very easily, but I don't know what it's going to be like on insulation. Have no clue. When it comes to insulation, what have I got? Well, I've got the 4 inches of brick, right? I got the 4 inches of brick. Let's break it down halfway. I got about 1/2 inch of perlite and Portland cement. Coffee hadn't kicked in yet. All right. So I got the bricks, I got a little bit of Portland, and a little bit of vermiculite. I've got a good 3/4 to an inch of vermiculite, okay? And on top of that, I've got a good inch of just pure concrete. And why did I put the concrete on there? Nobody else, I haven't seen anybody else do that. Well, I guess they don't live where I live. And like I've said in one of the videos a while back, we have some high winds here, and stuff goes flying through the air. I mean, these winds are enough to where they will turn over my huge Adirondack chairs and just blow them, all right? Big Bob, you see my smoker out there, it'll blow Big Bob across the deck. So I wanted to make sure that if like my neighbor's umbrella goes flying like it did last time, and hits that dome, it's got some kind of protection, okay? Some kind of armor. So I put that concrete on there. All right, so brick, vermiculite, brick, perlite, vermiculite, concrete, and then on top of the concrete now, I've got about a 3/8 to a 1/2 inch of mortar mix, and I've got my veneer bricks, and through the veneer bricks, I'm going to have, obviously that's what I'm starting with now, I'll have the mortar, all right, the mortar mix that goes in between there. So if that ain't enough insulation, I don't know what will be. But yeah, I don't know if it's the right insulation, and I don't know if it's going to crack. And I was advised by one guy, hey, don't put your veneer on there until you get everything else on and you dry it out. Everybody else said it don't matter, and I could understand why, because his reasoning was you can see the cracks. As cracks come up and you can patch them. Well, I tell you what, I have a feeling there's going to be cracks, but if a hairline crack totally ruins that stove, it's got a lot of stuff to go through. That heat's got a lot of stuff to go through, and I can't see a hairline crack being that bad. Now, I'll be able to see it still through the mortar, and if I can patch it there, I'll patch it there, but I think I have enough insulation. Now, one of the problems I've run into, and you novices out there, I don't know, maybe you won't have the problem, but I did. Okay, I had my dome built, okay, I put in the bricks in the back, and that was straight. That was 90 degrees up, right? But when I went and put the wire and the rock wool on there and everything, I lost my crisp, flat, and my edges. So that when I put my initial vermiculite on there, and you'll see in this thing here where I talk about the problems I have with that, where Everybody on YouTube, they put their vermiculite on there and it grips like a monkey in a tree. Mine fell out. And I tried to change in the water mixture. It still fell out. And I explain a little bit later on what I ended up doing to make it stick. But in the process of getting that on, I kind of like had a wave. There was a concave, there was convex. I did not have my crisp corners. So what does that mean? Well, that means I can't have the brick coming from one direction and the brick going to the other direction and meeting up decently. I have got a pretty dang good size ridge in there that I'm going to fill in, make decorative. It doesn't bother me. But if I was going to do this again, you know, I've got neighbors going, let's see how this thing works out. Let's see how it cooks. If I end up doing one, helping the neighbor do one, because they can't afford me to do one for them, trust me, not after, woohoo! All right, but if I help the neighbor do one, what I'm going to recommend is once the dome is done, and once it is wrapped and we know the exact height and width, what I'm going to recommend is we build a form and we make a 2-inch pad of percolite. Percolite. I don't know why I got this percolite thing. Perlite, okay, and make it, it'll look like a headstone, okay, and make that as what I'm calling the plug in the back, so that once that hardens up after about 2 or 3 days, we go in and we put in some mix in the back and we butter that headboard, you know, that cemetery thing, you know, the plug, and stick it in. And even if we have to put a rope around it and tie it in, hold it in tight for a while, that's still going to give the crisp edge. And the dimensions will be so that they extend a little bit, about 1 inch past the wire, all the way around, and that will be the guide to put stuff in to where you know you have uniform thickness. You know, in the ops world, there's a saying, don't overplan, you'll just kill yourself or get yourself killed. Don't overplan. And sometimes I do that, and this may be overplanning, but I just do not have the skills to keep those crisp edges. And while some people would go, that don't look good, I look at it and go, I don't care. You know, it'll work for me. All right. So those are the things that have been going on. All right. New camera, no perlite, had to end up switching to vermiculite. I lost my square edges in the back. It still looks nice, and you'll see. But you know, I did lose my square edges in the back, and that kind of, as a builder, that bugs me. You know, I never did that with lumber, but this is brick and mortar mix, so duh. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. So what have I got left to do? I'm already working on the next video, and on the next video you see the veneer going in and that kind of good stuff. And I'm working on the door. I'm building the door, and so you'll see the door go on, and all that kind of good stuff. And I've put the tile in the front and all that kind of neat stuff, and now I'm building the edges around it, and you'll see why I had to do that. Miscalculation on my point, okay. Like a 2x4 ain't a 2x4. Well, a 12x24 ain't a 12x24 in tile either. So I end up paying for that, but I've came up with a way to fix it. No problem, and it'll look good. Alright, so there we go. I guess it wasn't a short prologue, was it? But at least you'll know what's going on when you go, you know, when it goes from, alright, let's start to put this on, and then here's how far I got. I'm sorry. Services will be held this Sunday at 12 noon. We do have a bagpiper. Bye. Hey everybody, welcome to video 8. This is video 8. Welcome. Why am I dressed up like this today? Am I freezing? No, not that cold out here. Definitely not that cold out here. Am I going to go rob a bank? Yeah, well, only an idiot would make a video of himself going to rob a bank, so no. Why? We're going to be dealing with this today. If you're not familiar with that, that's called rock wool, okay? part of the insulation process. We've got the dome built, so now what we're going to do is cover the dome in 1-inch rock wool, and then we're going to put our chicken wire over it, and then we put our rendering. All right, that's the plan for the next couple of days. Why am I using rock wool? Well, I think I told you a story one time. I walked into a hardware store and went up to this guy, and he came up to me and said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I need 3 nuts and bolts this size, this long, yada yada yada, and they got to be stainless steel." So he said, "Yeah, we got those," and he got them for me. And I said, "Well, how much are these?" He said, "Oh, they're about 50 cents each." I said, "Good, they'll work on my boat real fine." He says, "Oh, wait a minute, they're going on a boat?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, then they're $45 each." And I'm standing there looking at him, and all of a sudden he starts to laugh, and he says, "Hey, I've got a boat, so I know you start to get into something special, it's going to cost you more. It's the same thing, it's just going to cost you more because how you're going to use it." Same thing with the insulation. You can find the white insulation online. There's a company that sells stoves and kits that sells it. But the first thing they ask you, "Well, did you buy from us?" No. "Well, then we don't have any to sell you." Click. All right, that's fine. But you'll find that rock wool is really fine. It's very, very, very good insulator. I've used it before when I put in my generator over there for the house and things like that. But it's got fibers. And you want to make sure that you're wearing long sleeves, don't want to get it in your hair, and you definitely don't want to breathe that stuff in. And so we'll be dealing with that, and it was cheap. Those rolls of the white 1-inch insulation that you normally see for pizza ovens, oh my lord, that was 3 figures. I didn't find anything less than $100. Maybe they're out there, but I didn't find them. I think I paid for 6 pieces, I think I paid somewhere around $22. And if I need more, there's plenty more of it at the place where I bought this from. So let's get started on getting our rock wool up. I'll uncover the thing, set up the camera, and we'll start recording. See you soon. Alright, putting on the rock wool was not a hard thing to do at all. I mean, putting on the white stuff that cost a fortune. It isn't hard to put on either. It cut real well, and I concentrated, you notice I'm doubling up in some places. I concentrated on the fact that, at least it's a fact to me, my thought, that when I build the fires and everything, they're going to be pushed toward the back. Now, occasionally I'll bring some fires around to the sides and things like that, depends on what I'm cooking, because I'm going to be cooking a lot more than just pieces in there. But you notice I got pretty thick up on top there and in the back, because to me that's where the main concentration of heat is probably going to be. Let me know. Make a comment down below if you think I'm wrong, for sure, and just tell me what you know, what you don't know. Now, putting that chicken wire on, that was the worst thing going. I'm telling you, make sure you have got yourselves some good quality wire cutters, and that will help you a lot. And you got to get that stuff tight, and that can be very difficult to do. But get it on there. Get you some wire. You can either use the chicken wire itself, which I don't recommend. I went out and got a spool of medium grade wire, and I was able to just tie it all together with twists and stuff like that. And you can see I'm working down there at the bottom real careful, trying to get it all cut up just right and get it laid in. But the chicken wire can be a challenge, but don't let it beat you. There's worse things to do in this than the chicken wire, believe me. Well, I don't know how much we got of that. I have a feeling my camera went off again. And it's getting time for a new camera, but there you go. I didn't want to take it all the way up to the edge of the brick. Alright, let's take a look around this side. Whoa. And there we go. That's as far out there as I can get. Alright. That at the top will be squished down, no problem. Alright. There we go. Okay, we've got step one done. And I'll tell you the truth, that's probably all we're going to do today. And we're going to do it basically for two reasons. One, I'm whooped. My back and knees are killing me from doing those ladders. I'm sure some of you were taking a bet whether I was going to fall off that ladder or not. Well, so was I. Thank God we both lost on that. Unless you voted. No, I wasn't. Appreciate it. But we've got the rock wall up there, and my physical thing says no, not a good idea to try to put the rendering on there, and the rendering will be 4 to 1 to 1, which is 4 parts percolite. I don't even remember what it's called anymore. I'm so dang tired. Okay, not vermiculite, but the other one. Perlite, there you go. I tell you, it's going to be 4 parts perlite, 1 part Portland cement, and maybe probably about 3/4 parts sand. Okay. I know no one mixes sand with it I've seen so far, but I'm going to mix a little sand with it because I like how it turned out, especially for the pad and everything. So that's what we'll do. So other than the fact that I'm beat and hurting, the second reason I don't want to do it today is that that rock wool for some reason got pretty damp. Now it did rain last night, but it was still in the garage and everything. But it feels not wet, not moist or anything like that. But you can tell there's more content of moisture in there than there was when I bought it and put it in a plastic bag. Maybe that was, but the plastic bag was open at one end, so that shouldn't have mattered. Sometimes you put something in a plastic bag and it causes condensation to form up on the inside. It's soaked up by whatever's in the bag. All right, but we're not going to do that. All right, so we're going to let it ride for today. Let it sit out in the sun. It's supposed to be a nice sunny day all day. Let it dry out. We'll let it cover up really nice tonight. All right, and obviously there's going to be some dew tomorrow, but it's going to be covered, so it should not be any detriment. And then tomorrow morning, oh Lord, we will start doing the rendering. Part of me thinks, that's not going to be bad. That shouldn't be bad. Mix it, put it on. But having said that, I don't know. I just got a omen feeling that's let's just hope, let's be positive. Things will go right tomorrow, all right? Things will go right tomorrow. Other than that, take a break, go do something. Actually, probably sit in my chair, have some coffee, and take a nap, considering I slept 2 hours last night. Old man stuff. When you get to be old, sometimes you just don't sleep. Well, you got the big one coming, so why waste it now? Okay, there we go. Back out here tomorrow. Oh. Alright, we're taking a little break here. And actually the break's going to go all the way until tomorrow. I've run into the same problem, and some of you novices will probably run into it as well, on when I first mixed the mortar mix for the block. Getting it too wet, getting it too dry, getting the 3 bears just right, getting that 3rd bear. Well, I'm having the same situation, let's not call it a problem, it's a damn problem. Okay, with the perlite mix going over the dome. And the problem that I'm running into that I've never seen anybody talk about on YouTube is, even when I feel like I got the right mix, you push it through, but that backing or that rock wool doesn't really support it. And I don't know if maybe it's the function of the rock wool versus a function of the expensive white insulation for pizza ovens, okay? But to get that in, you saw me troweling in the back and it was falling and all kinds of bad things going on. Well, what I ended up doing was
mixing it up a little bit more, just a tad more moist, not a lot, just a tad. And I used my hand to actually work it in. At first I didn't use a glove, not smart, cut myself in several places. All right, well, I got me a glove, and I was out here, all right, and smear it on with one hand and with a trowel, and then just work it into the chicken wire with the other hand. All right, that worked for me. Will it work for you? I wouldn't think so, but just picking it up and troweling it on. No, that was a definite no-go, not for me. Okay, so what I've done is essentially put a skim coat or whatever, a thin coat, no more than somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch maybe, all over the dome. I do have the dome covered. Okay, I'm gonna let that harden. I'm gonna let it harden over tonight. Why? Because I gotta push that next coat on there, and if it's not set, when I go to push that next coat on there, it's gonna crack in the whole 9 yards. It might still crack. I don't know in some of the thinner places. But that's something that I've run into that I did not see anywhere under the every YouTube video I watched. None of them mentioned the fact about the wire, the insulation, the perlite or vermiculite, whichever they were using, going through the wire, falling down or whatever. You got to get that wire tight. Now, there ain't no doubt about that. You've got to get that wire tight. And I thought I had it tight. But any gaps, any looseness of that wire, what happens is you've got your, in my case, I got my perlite in, and then there might be a little bit of loose wire, and I put over there and push it in, and that pops that out, everything falls down. So that's where the working it in with the hand came in a whole lot better. All right, now I'm going to take the camera off, go over and just shoot a couple of the sides there, give you an idea of what it looks like. Might even say some of the same things over again, but I think that I think that using the hand is the way for me to go. I'm sure some of you pros are standing out there going, gee whiz, what's he doing now? And I can understand that, but I'm telling you, just using that skimmer, I'm sorry, I can't remember what it's called anymore. All right, that paddle to spread it out, nah, that's not working for me. Not on the initial coat. I tell you what I did, I let the top harden a little bit, and I went back and spread it out a little bit with a hand, and then I did it, and it worked fine. But that's almost a flat surface. When you get on the vertical, that's a whole new ball game. All right, that's where your mixture and everything's got to be just right, or it's going to fall right off. Well, let me show you what I've gotten so far, and then we'll come back out here tomorrow and see what happens. All right, that's all we can do. All right, here's how far I've gotten. If you saw the beginning when I was up on the ladder, it was obvious I was having problems. Same problems I had with the block, and that is moisture. How much moisture do I have in the dadgum mix? And I had trouble getting it in between even the chicken wire until I decided to where I'm going to try and work it with my hand, and that worked fine. That started to help out. So first coat's not going to be as thick as I wanted it to be, but there's going to be multiple coats. We'll get that done. I'm going to give this a while to harden up, because the more I push, the more it falls out. So this will harden up, and I'll come in with another mixture, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. But I did want that brick exposed, and I think that's going to work out fine. And then the last thing that I'll do is put me a couple of coats of Portland cement over it as well. And if that cracks and falls in, so be it. Catch you later. Alright, so here we are coming to the end of video 8. As you can see, I've got the rendering put on. It's a good 1.5 inches thick, I'm hoping. All right, and then we still have a couple inches of insulation as well. And I actually have one more thing to go on there, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this video out on this. What's left to go on? I'm going to put a coating of Portland cement on there, at least a 1/2 inch. I hope to get up to 1 inch thick on it, and then mount my my decorative brick veneer. As you can see, the door is whoop. It's on there. Let's back up a little bit. Sorry about that. Not real proud of that arch. I'm telling you, I am not proud of that arch. But as long as the dang thing don't fall down, I'll be happy, 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 happy. All right. Things I still got to do is put the dark tile that you see there all along the front, and 1 12-inch section on each side, and then the rest will have Portland cement be parged. I've got to parge all 3 sides of this, and then got to do a burn-in. But there's going to be a 7-day period there where it totally has nothing going on to try and render a little bit. What I might do is put a couple of sterno cans in there and let that small heat start up versus a fire. All right, that'll start the drying process, and let that go for about, like I said, 7 days. Everybody's saying give it 7 days, and then go for it. I've heard a mixed thing about the sides, whether or not to, well, not the sides, but whether or not to go ahead and do the burn-in before I put the concrete on and then put the decorative veneer on, or go ahead and do the burn-in afterwards. The reason being, you'll check to find a crack. Well, I think we know it's going to crack. They all crack. So once again, is how big, how bad, where is it? So what I plan to do is go ahead and put the concrete on and start my burn-in, and then put the decorative veneer on it. The burn-in is going in, see what happens. All right, and that's where we stand. Sorry the camera died in starting off the application there, the rendering, but like I said, don't do none of this Patreon stuff, so I've stuck with what I've stuck with. I don't need anybody's money, not today. So this is where we are. Once we start the next video, we'll hopefully have the door done. I'll show you some things I'm going to do on the door itself, and we'll start putting the concrete on. All right, stay with us, subscribe, follow along. And as you heard at the beginning, expect the unexpected.
All right, so here's a little added bonus there before we call it a day. The door there to the actual oven itself, what I've done here is I've made me a little archway. I just used some of the stuff I had left over from tearing apart the big dome archway. And what we did was cut 2 inches of that plywood and just got it wet and bent it back over and nailed it down, got it undone. That 2x4 you see sticking out to the side there, that's where main just for support is all it is. All right, got it put in position, and you can see the gap. The big question I had in my mind was, did I want the brick forward, in, or what? I decided to go ahead and just put the brick such that it still would not be obtrusive to the floor, and I could replace floor tile bricks if I had to do that. So that's the gap that I had to deal with. Did some dry cutting, some dry fitting, and oh my Lord, I tell you what, I got a lot of respect for people that did this back in the stone ends. Okay, whatever. So here you see most of the stuff done. My keystones lay in there. I'm trying to get it as close as I can to side. Ended up using a lot of that
Mortar mix, no big problem really. Made sure the inside was nice and clean. Used the same old mirror trick. I stuck my mirror up in there and stuck a flashlight, angled it up to where I was working, and I could see real well. While I'm not really super happy with this thing, I mean, it doesn't look that it doesn't look professional, but I'm not a professional. I'm not even a wannabe. So, but that's how it turned out, and I'm happy with it. Form came out real easy.